These two games are the definition of not for everyone, but by some miracle, they have gone on to become mainstream hits. Developers sticking to their vision does work. KCD2 is built on the first game. Of course, the sequel is better in pretty much every way, but they stuck to creating a hyper-realistic medieval experience, didn't try to make it just another RPG, and I'd say it worked out pretty well. Crimson Desert is the opposite of KCD2 in many ways. It's a fantasy that is built on an insanely fun sandbox. This game does try to be like a lot of other open world games, RDR, Witcher, Breath of the Wild, but it is most fun when it isn't trying to be anything else. Not a story-driven open world or relying on one gameplay element like puzzle solving. It's best when you're out exploring the world. Say what you want about the game, but this world is special. I have had plenty of complaints, but from release day, I have absolutely loved exploring. Part of the reason I have made so little progress in the main story. I'm just doing what I want, which is great because that's exactly what the developers want you to do. What's that all the way across the map? Can I slingshot my way across? Can I forget about swords and just roleplay as a WWE wrestler? If you say yes and do those things, this game is a lot of fun. But if you think those are distractions stopping you from progressing through the story and you go do quest after quest, boy are you going to be disappointed. I'm not the most creative person in video games, but I have found plenty of things to keep myself engaged here. A lot of it does feel like a waste of your time, technically, not actually doing anything, but you have to get over it. This is a sandbox and that's where the fun lies. It's like attaching C4s to cows in Just Cause or trying to maintain a 5-star wanted level for as long as you can in GTA. You are spending hours doing basically nothing. In that way, it doesn't feel modern. It feels like something you played when you were a kid, ignoring everything and just trying to pull the craziest stunts. The world in Crimson Desert allows you to do that and more. Combat mechanics, game physics, all these magical abilities aren't there for just puzzles either. They are insanely fun to use if you can think of things to do, or you can just look up people on YouTube like I did. I don't know if I will ever finish the main story, because at the pace I am going, it's gonna easily take more than 200 hours, and I don't really care, because when I was going from quest to quest, I was very close to quitting, because the mission design is plain boring. Combine that with a story that makes no sense for more than half the time, and I can safely say most of my time with the game will be spent exploring. Just like Crimson Desert, the world of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is very easy to get lost in. Not in the same way, of course. If you avoid main and side quests, you will go mad here. What am I supposed to do? Fight bandits everywhere? And if you know this game, you know that ends in a lot of pain a lot of the times. This is a very grounded world, and 15th century Bohemia is just a lot of green and brown. Just the way it's built is not the most exciting thing, makes sense with it being historical fiction, but if the writing wasn't as good as it is and side quests were like Crimson Desert, this world would have been plain bad. You'll be running through long stretches of wilderness and little towns in between for the first half. There isn't a lot to do if you don't like narrative driven quests. But the good thing is, once you add these side quests and characters, it turns into one of the most lively game worlds ever. Henry is one of my favorite protagonists, and exploring the world with him adds to it. You'll come across knights challenging you, damsels in distress, guys asking you for help to pick up women, messengers asking you to beat them up, wanderers who will poison you if given the chance and rob you. It's a living, breathing world unlike anything else. That's the reason I think KCD2 is the spiritual sequel to Skyrim, not Crimson Desert. Exploration feels very Skyrim-like. This might be controversial, but I like exploring more in Kingdom Come 2 because of Henry and pretty much everyone you come across. The game doesn't take itself too seriously, even with the setting and time period. Random conversations end up being very memorable, so you go around trying to talk to anyone you can. Some of these conversations will lead to quests, some will just be one-time things, but the quality remains high. Main quests, side quests, random encounters doesn't really matter. In other open worlds, there is a clear difference between NPCs and the main character. But here, you are playing with a character that feels like an NPC. This was even worse in the first game. You wouldn't even have any screen time in cutscenes, and you just stands there like an extra. In KCD2, you are promoted. You feel like a side character at least. The world doesn't revolve around you, so it feels even realer, and unlike 99% of games. This was very close. I love both of these worlds. I have spent more time in Bohemia, but I am gonna go with Crimson Desert for this round. Being a fantasy, they had no limits, and in my opinion, they have made full use of it. KCD2's strength is its writing, which is what makes the world so much fun to explore, but just the raw open world in Crimson Desert is better. Combat is absolutely amazing in both, again for very different reasons. Crimson Desert's combat somehow keeps getting better. The core remains the same, but you just keep adding and adding and adding, and it gets crazier and crazier. In recent memory, this is my favorite skill tree because it is an actual skill tree. It's insane they said this wasn't an RPG. Come on, this is role-playing, and role-playing at its best. You don't unlock 10% extra power or 10% boost in stamina. You learn something completely new which changes gameplay by a lot. You can become a full-time professional wrestler, striking enemies out of nowhere. I RKO'd this guy on a rock and I could almost hear Michael call. I would have loved if they had added a full-on boxing or kickboxing moveset as well, because that would have fit in so well in this game. But you do have plenty to work with here anyhow. Combat is at its best when it is challenging. It's fun to pull off cool moves against lower level enemies, but it gets in the button mashing territory. Fights with higher level enemies are slower, you have to think, you can still pull off those cool moves, which I love. There's no barrier, you can fight silly even against bosses. This game gives you freedom unlike anything else. Usually in games there are certain rules to gameplay, something obvious won't work, but here, if you can think of it, most probably the game will let you do it. It's super creative, you can interact with the environment more than other open worlds. You can't grab a guy and use the environment, but you can pick up the environment and throw it at enemies. That sounds weird, but it is true here. Boss fights are okay, but combat mechanics here work best against multiple enemies. Against one very strong enemy, it's still good, but a few cracks start showing. Movement in general feels jittery and unresponsive at times, and when you're fighting a boss, if the game decides to not work properly for even a half a second, it leads to a lot of frustration. Healing also feels a little overpowered, especially in the beginning. Fights don't end up depending on your skill, it ends up depending on how many apples you have in your bag. I have noticed this problem goes away as you progress, but they could have balanced this element a little bit more. Combat in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is unique, it's complex, it's brutally challenging. You can make it even harder if you avoid one move. For me, this just hits right. I don't want to be able to fight 100 enemies no problem. I want to fight tooth and nail even against one enemy. There is a big learning curve, not as bad as if you had started with the first game, which is still harder. If you start straight with the sequel, you will be slowly thrown into the deep end. It's still gonna make you cry, but slowly. Combat being as hard as it is makes the world and exploration so much better. You need to be careful wandering too much. You might end up at a bandit camp where two drunks with sticks will beat you up easy as ever, which could lead to you losing hours of your progress, because as a peasant, even saving the game is asking for too much. There is one move that will make your life easier. You learn this anywhere from 5 to 15 hours into the game, depending on how fast you can recover after getting whooped. A lot of players might give up before reaching this point. Till here, it feels like the first game, challenge-wise. Once you learn this move, Master Strike, combat is still hard, but you can beat relatively skilled enemies one-on-one at least. You attack from the opposite direction as your enemy at the same time as he is attacking, so you block and attack at the same time. It can't be blocked or countered. Enemies will try to do this to you as well, so you have to pay attention. I would have liked if Master Strike was harder to pull off, because this is so strong, you wait to Master Strike the entire fight, sometimes forgetting all the other skills you have at your disposal. Progression is perfect in both KCD 1 and 2. Henry gets better armor and better weapons, but skill wise it's the player playing it that gets better for the most part. You learn to fight as you go to different master swordsmen. Give KCD 2's combat mechanics your time and full attention, and you will be rewarded with an amazingly complex combat system. This is yet again very hard. Combat is my favorite thing in both of these games, but I am gonna give it to Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. This is personal preference. I like my combat system grounded and challenging, and that is exactly what KCD 2 offers. There is plenty to do when you aren't fighting. In Crimson Desert you have puzzles, magical abilities. There are about 1,000 different abilities even at the start of the game, or at least it feels like it. Most of these mechanics are used in combat or puzzle solving. There is a lot of depth to combat, but puzzles wise, for me at least, they land flat. I'm not a big fan of puzzles in games, but here it's not clever. It doesn't feel right even after you get the puzzle right. You're using the lasso, which is great otherwise, but in puzzle sections it's clunky. You're throwing stones at walls or punching at walls. This aspect isn't creative, and thankfully after the first few hours I have managed to keep away, and so far the game is letting me avoid it. Other than that, you have a lot of mini games. You have rock, paper, scissors, archery, arm wrestling, and wrestling. It's real wrestling with professional wrestling moves. Even getting arrested, you have a small mini game. You can get away if you can time it right. There is plenty to do, but will you do most of these activities more than once? That depends. Me, I am playing rock, paper, scissors every chance I get. KCD 2 has a lot of gameplay mechanics, alchemy, crafting, forging weapons, mini games as well. These aren't one and done mechanics either. They have multiple steps with different controls. You're gonna end up liking at least one of these mini games, and you can progress that way. Forging was my thing. Henry being a blacksmith's son, it felt just right, and it is super satisfying working at a forge in a game at least. These mechanics are slow, it takes time. Alchemy, you need to look at the book, collect ingredients, set the fire just right, boil them for the right amount of time, so it can either be immersive or tedious depending on the person. Except for forging weapons, I found everything else tedious. I did them once. This is an RPG, so you're not going to be forced into doing anything. You can craft your own path. You don't have to do anything for the entire game. Outside of combat, these games offer a lot. Some are great, some aren't. This round is gonna go to Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 just because nothing in it makes me as bored as puzzles in Crimson Desert. Let's get to the narrative section. We'll make this quick. Crimson Desert is a narrative focus. It tries to be like Red Dead at times, but you aren't playing this for the plot. And if you are, you're most likely hating your time with the game. On the other hand, KCD 2 has a pretty good plot. I wouldn't say it's my top 10 in gaming. The overarching plot becomes the focus here and there, but for the most part you are going on your own adventure, and man is it fun. Conversations are a treat. As I said, this game doesn't take itself too seriously, so you're gonna come across the most random bizarre quests, kind of like RDR2, but Arthur feels above the silliness. The man is iconic. But Henry fits into this silly world perfectly. Walking around drunk, Henry not being able to stand still, slurring and waving his arms all over is peak Kingdom Come. Dialogue choices aren't there just to direct you to approach quests in different ways. They are sometimes just there to make conversations interesting and dynamic. Writing is on another level. Even masterpieces like The Witcher, main and side characters have the cool lines, but KCD2, a peasant might roast you out of nowhere. The level of immersion I felt talking to NPCs is like very few other games. Crimson Desert's main story makes almost no sense for the first 10 hours, then it is a little more focused, just a little better, but still I fast forwarded almost every single cutscene. When I paid attention and played it like another story driven open world, I was getting bored out of my mind. Just skim through, you aren't missing anything really. It's exposition and it's done in the dullest way imaginable. Kingdom Come Deliverance wins this round. It's 15 levels above anything Crimson Desert has to offer. Since these games came out in the span of a year, let's look at the visuals as well for once. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is grounded even with its visual style. It's a lot of green and brown, and then you come across a pretty sight and you realize how beautiful this game actually is. Technically, it's very polished. That was a problem with the first one, so they have worked extra hard to make sure there aren't many technical issues. Even on release day, it was more polished than most modern games, and now a year later it runs like butter. Very rarely do you find any issues. It's not going to be considered a beautiful game just because of its visual style, but if you can look past that, you have a stunning game in your hands. Crimson Desert is pretty. There have been complaints about downgrades and I just do not see it. It's so beautiful all the time almost. There are bugs. You have to make your peace with pop-ins and blurry textures way out in the distance. I don't care about pop-ins or texture quality that far away. With this draw distance, I can understand these issues, but still, even on 5090s, this game doesn't run flawlessly. Some people might not be okay with those issues, but for me, this game is beautiful. Especially when it's sunny, the game is just so good to look at. Lighting is on point. I like the slightly saturated look, dense foliage, contrasting colors. When it's dark, the game actually gets dark. The way your lantern lights up the environment. You don't need to wait for a particular time of day for the game to look good. When it's cloudy, it can look flat, but other than that, it's a treat to look at all the way through. Graphics, I'm gonna give it to Crimson Desert. This ended up a very close comparison. The winner is of course Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. It is more well-rounded and personally, it's exactly what I want in a video game, except for the first-person camera. Let me know which game is better in your opinion. Click the video on screen to see Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 and 2 compared with each other. For now, like, comment and subscribe. Thanks for watching and have a great day wherever you are.